Hi, Assalamualaikum. So today I will lecture on another topic of public finance, and this topic also will be tested in your final test. Okay, so the topic is public procurement. Okay, so if you still remember on the past few topics whereby you learn about government budget, okay, all the government agencies already propose their budget, the activities, the programs that they intend to carry out the upcoming year. Okay, so we learn about that. Okay, so when they already detail out what are the programs and projects they want to carry out in the upcoming year, um, on the upcoming year, okay, on the year itself, okay, in the year itself, they need to carry out those projects and programs. Okay, so for example, they want to carry out the Selangor government, for example, they want to carry out project perumahan rakyat. Okay, for example. So in order to carry out project perumahan rakyat, definitely they will have procurement or they will have purchase. So what is procurement basically? Okay, so procurement basically is the purchasing of the goods and services for public purpose. So uh, if you made a purchasing of yourself, that is purchasing, that is procurement, but it is not a public procurement. Public procurement is basically where you purchase for the sake of the public goods. So why do we need to learn about public purchasing? Why you need to learn on public purchasing? Basically, okay, this is what Bachelor of Administrative Science and Bachelors of Environmental Administration is all about. Inshallah, one day you will be an administrator, public administrator. So you will be involved in all these programs, all these activities. So in order to purchase, there are various procedures that you need to adhere to. So that's why you need to know what is public procurement. Okay. So, when we talk about public procurement, it involves several policies. Okay, we couldn't just purchase at our own interest. Okay, because this is public money. We are accountable for every single cent we spend. So that's why we have to adhere to various policies. Okay, if you look at on the slides or the policies in procurement, the first policies is preference to the local suppliers. So if let's say the agencies in Seremban, for example UiTM Seremban, if possible, they need to find out the suppliers within Seremban district. Okay, if there's no suppliers are able to provide those products or the services, then they can go for the other district near the nearer district. Okay, so that is preference to the local suppliers, preference to the local goods. Okay, preference to the local goods means you need to buy Malaysia product. Okay, if let's say um, uh, there is a Malaysia product, there is a local product available for that purpose, then you should buy local products. For example, if let's say the government, any government agencies, UiTM for example, they want to buy a new van, okay, for UiTM purposes. So try to find van that is locally produced. Then purchasing by technical specification, not by brand names. Okay, so let's say you item Seremban want to buy computers. Okay, so they should look on the specification, what kind of specifications of computers they need, not the brand names. Okay, they should detail out what kind of computers they want, what are the purpose of the computers. Is that for drawings, is that for administration? So they need to explain in detail what kind of specifications, what kind of computers they want. They can't just go to one brand name because that brand name has a good reputable, okay, image. Okay, so that's why they need to look on specification. Then the next one is registered suppliers. In Malaysia, in order to be supplier for the government products and services, you must be registered. Okay. The first one is you must be registered with Ministries of Finance. So in order for you to be part of supplier for products and services for any government agencies, you need to be registered first with Ministries of Finance. I don't know if you have accounted this. If let's say you have registration with Ministries of Finance, then Ministries of Finance will come up with a cert. Ada tulis nama Ministries of Finance. Okay. And then bawah tu dia ada code. Example 103, the code for supplying pembekal barangan alat tulis. Okay. So if let's say UiTM want to buy for stationaries, so UiTM will ask tender or quotation from those suppliers who have this code 103 stationery code. Okay, those suppliers with other than that code, let's say 105 who supply food, 107 who supply computer, they cannot be supplier for that stationery. So in the Ministries of Finance certs, they already specifies what kind of suppliers you are. Okay, so before you enter into the transactions with the government, okay, purchasing transactions with the government sector, you need to be registered with Ministries of Finance. Other than that, that is the general one. Okay, general. Every suppliers must be registered with Ministries of Finance. But the specific one is those suppliers who normally involved in constructions, they need to also be registered with CIDB and PKK. Okay, Pertubuhan Kontraktor Kecil, and CIDB, okay, an organisation that acknowledge those suppliers, good suppliers on constructions. So those contractor who want to join the tender on constructions in the government sector, they must ensure that they are not only have the certs from the Ministries of Finance, but they also need to have certs registered with CIDB or PKK. Okay. Okay, then wide publicity. Okay, in order to ensure transparency, fair competition, so the tender must be widely publicized. Okay, it is recommended that the tender be publicized in one famous newspaper, like nowadays we have Berita Harian. So those tender must be publicized in Berita Harian. Okay, at least minimum one famous newspaper, because we want to reach more people. More people read the tender advertisement, so more will come to compete for that tender. So we can have amples of tenders that we can evaluate which one is the best. Then quotation and payment must be made in ringgit Malaysia. Okay, definitely all quotations or payment must be in ringgit Malaysia. And the constitution of procurement board, those who will be part of the procurement board, the selections of the procurement board must be according to the treasury instructions. Okay. Then we have procurement principles. Okay, the first principle is fair dealings. Okay, all acceptable bids must be processed fairly according to rules and regulation. So those who compete for the tender, each tender document that they submitted must be evaluated according to the proper rules and regulation. There should not be any favoritism involved. Okay, they should be evaluated fairly. Okay, the second one is public accountability. Okay, so every government officers need to know that whatever ringgit, whatever cents they spend, this is public money. Every single cent they spend, they need to be accountable with that. So that's why we have various rules and regulation procedures in order to ensure the accountability in spending the public money. The third one is transparency. Okay, all the rules and regulation in terms of public procurement must be transparent. Okay, transparent means there's no hidden rules, there's no hidden regulations. All the rules and regulation can be accessed. Okay, can be accessed, could be through the websites or could be through the tender document itself. Okay, so it must be transparent so that every bidder can read and understand the rules and regulation. Then the spending should be value for money. Okay, so every spending they made, they need to ensure that the price is not too high, and then the product is good. Okay, but the quality of the product is good. Value for money. Just assume that we purchase that for ourselves purpose. Okay, how we actually so fussy in choosing our own goods and services. That's how we actually should apply when we purchase for the public purpose. Then open and fair competition. Okay, so we should encourage open and fair competition. Those who have capabilities, those who are they have they fulfill all the requirements, they can be given chance to compete. Okay, there should be no favoritism, there should be chance to compete in the tender. Okay, it should be open, and those who have the capabilities to join, they have all the required relevance conditions. Okay, they fulfill all the conditions, so they can come and compete for that tender. Okay, so that is procurement principles. Then we look on the category of procurement. So when we want to purchase, we need to identify what procurement we are currently doing. The first one is works. Okay, the procurement of works. Procurement of works involve those works involve constructions, engineering. Say example, Pan Borneo. Okay, the constructions of the Pan Borneo highways, the constructions of MRT. These involve works. Okay, so this is the categories of procurement of works, and it is also involve drainage. Okay, drainage, water supply. So that is works. Then supplies involve the supplies of goods and services. For example, you supply food. Okay, all the caterers supply stationeries, supply computers, supply uniforms. So these are the procurement of supplies. Then you have the procurement of services. There are sometimes those services that the government agency itself doesn't have that kind of expertise. Like for example, in constructing the agency's websites, they don't have the expertise to do so, or in expertise on repairing all those computers, or expertise on consultants like what we have in the second bridge, when we have no expertise on the drawings of the bridge, so we hire a consultant in order to advise us on the drawings of the bridge. Okay, so that is the categories of procurement. Next one, we learn on methods of procurement. We have several methods of procurement. We have direct purchase, quotation, tender, emergency purchase, and foreign purchase, which we will be going explain in one by one. The first one is direct purchase. Okay, so if let's say any government agencies, they wish to spend, which that amount of spending is not more than 50,000 per year, so they can go for the direct purchase procedures. Normally, this kind of products or goods and services is those goods and services that is normally be used by that agencies, like computers, stationaries. Okay, so that is a kind of goods that is normally be used by that kind of agencies. Okay, so if let's say they wish to buy stationaries, for example, the head of department can just buy it from the local suppliers, those suppliers who inside the district, so they can just proceed and purchase from that particular suppliers. Okay, however, if that procurement of works, which is the value of 20,000, so they need to go through the issue of works through the PKK and CIDB. Okay, so what are the procedures involved in purchasing the direct purchase? So the first one is the agencies itself, they need to prepare a purchase order. The purchase order specifies the types of good, the size, the quality, the supplier, and the value of that products. Okay, so they will prepare the purchase order, and they will, let's say they know one supplier in that particular district, so they just go and submit to that particular supplier. The supplier, if let's say they interested to supply their products to that agencies, so they must feedback within 14 days. They must provide the feedbacks within 14 days. So let's say they interested, so they provide to that particular suppliers, then that suppliers can prepare a letter of offer, and then and send it to the vendors, and then the vendors send it the products, and the agency will then prepare invoice to be given to the suppliers, and that invoice will be processed and send it to the National Account Department, so that National Account Department will pay the suppliers. Okay, that's how the processes involved. And then the quotation procedures. Okay, quotation, or in bahasa we call that as sebut harga. If let's say the procurement ranging from 20,000 to 500,000 per year, for example, you want to buy a gymnasium facilities, you want to renovate your departments, or you want to build another store, okay, another garage. So this normally involve quotation procedures. Okay, and when we talk about quotation, you must the agencies must get the quotation for at least 5 suppliers. Okay, minimum 5 suppliers. And then for those procurements which involve PKK, contractor class F, or contractor kecil, that the supplies of works should be in rotation. For example, this time around Ahmad dah dapat, next time around Ali, next time around Abu. Okay, so it should be, if let's say that procurement is on involve contractors, F contractors, so they should be in rotation. Okay, then we look on the tender procedures. Okay, in government procurement, this is the direct purchase and quotation is not so rigid, but for tenders is quite rigid, because the amount of value also is 500,000 and more. So if the government intend to get tender, for example, a supplier for student foods for hostel, or supplier for hostel, like all the beds, all the tables, okay, the furniture inside the hostel, or furniture for office, so which the amount is more than 500,000, then it should be done through a tender process. Okay, you um, the agency should find Malaysian supplier first, unless that kind of products or services are unavailable locally, so they can go for international tenders. Okay, so before they go for international tenders, they should call for a joint venture first. Let's say that you have one Bumiputra suppliers who have a little bit knowledge on that particular goods and services, but they do not know how to produce. So they know one international companies know on how to produce. They will go and collaborate first as joint venture in order to enter into the tender. But then, if let's say there is no current local suppliers that have knowledge on that particular goods and services, then only we can go for international tenders. But in order to go for international tenders, you need to pass through the Ministries of Finance first. Okay, basically I will explain on the tender process as a whole. Okay, normally the government agencies have intention to buy something which is more than 500,000, so they will open up a tender, and there are two separate groups, okay, which is the financial committee and the technical committee. Let's say you ITM want to build new garage, okay, a new hostel, for example, okay, new hostel, additional hostel. So UITM, the finance committee and the technical committee, they will sit down together, and this technical committee will specify what kind of hostel they want, what are the specifications, how many levels, is there any lift involved or not, what materials they want, what design they want. So this technical committee will will lay out their all these specifications, while the finance committee will work hand in hand by providing the cost to the technical committee. The technical committee may know all the technicalities, but they don't know on the finance. Same goes. The finance committee, they know on the price, the details of the value of the products, value of the services, but they do not know on the very technical specifications of that particular thing. Say they do not know how many Siemens we want. They do not know how many you know uh, uh, all these raw materials we need. Okay, they do not know. So that's why financial committees and technical committees must work together, and then they will come up with their own specifications, okay, detailed specification, and this specification will be included in the tender documents. In the tender documents, they will specify what kind of specification they need, what are the forms the bidder need to fill in, how much the deposits, when the project is expected to be completed. The details of the project will be explained in the tender documents. Okay, once the tender documents completed, okay, so they will advertise the tender. Okay, normally previously there's a lot of, when we still use physical newspaper, if you just keep out at the back of the pages, you will see a lot of tender there. Okay, but nowadays we are more towards the online newspaper. So I'm not sure whether that kind of advertisement is still there or not. Okay, but normally they will advertise in the advertisement, and then in the newspaper, that a tender on UITM hostel is open. Those bidders will have all this relevant qualification, then they can come to UITM and purchase the tender document. Okay, the tender document need to be purchased normally around 50 ringgit. Okay, it's quite thick, whereby all the forms, all the rules and regulation procedures is in there. Okay, so those tender who wish to join and bid for the tender, they need to come to UITM and purchase for the tender documents. Okay, so once in the advertisement, they already specified the due date for purchasing of the tender and the due date of submitting the tender documents. Okay, let's say the submissions of the tender document is on 31st of December. So before the 31st of December, all these bidder, they need to submit their relevance forms. Okay, relevant forms. So if you have been to Bendahari, you can see that there are a tender box there. Okay, so this tender box couldn't be simply opened by any staff. No, only tender committee have rights to open the tender box. So those bidders who already fills all the forms, they need to go to UITM Seremban and deposits the tender document, all the forms and all the forms. Okay, and if let's say there is no local suppliers for Bumiputra suppliers. So the forms need to be attached with a proof of payment. Okay, there are some deposits need to be given for non-Bumiputra suppliers. Okay, so they need to provide deposits for the tender along with the tender document. And then once the tender close, the tender committee will open up the tender box and they will sit down together. They will evaluate each of the tender documents based on the rules and regulation. And then once they select the bidder, okay, so they will send a letter to the bidder saying that the bidder is actually successful on the tender bid. Okay, so that is the tender procedures. Okay, you can read on the details on the slides here. Then we move to emergency purchase. Okay, as I mentioned in the budget topic that whatever the government agencies wish to spend on the upcoming year, that spending must be explained in the budget. Okay, this year budget, they already specifies what they intend to purchase next year, what they intend to what projects they intend to do next year. So let's say something happened. Okay, so we need to buy something emergency urgently, but that's not part of the budget that we actually proposed before. So we can do that. We call that as emergency purchase. Normally emergency purchase is made during flood, natural disasters, tsunami, COVID as well. Still remember, COVID happens around November, okay, November last year, whereby at that time we don't have budget for COVID, okay. So we can go for emergency purchase procedure. Okay, what are the procedures? The agencies need to prepare what are the needs, okay, what they want, what they intend to purchase, and then they need to submit to the controlling officer of the ministry within 1 month. Okay, so once the controlling officer receives that, that controlling officer must prepare a report and submit to the treasury if it is in the treasury. If let's say in this level of state government, submit to the state financial officer, and then within 1 month. Okay, so the treasury or the state financial office will approve that. Okay, so that is emergency purchase. Then we go for foreign purchase. Those goods which is not offered by the local suppliers, then we can go for foreign purchase. For example, we want to buy a fighter jet, we want to buy the submarines. Okay, so this is not available locally, so we can go for foreign purchase. Okay, then we move to the issues of public procurement. Public procurement have lots of issues because it involves projects, it involves tenders. There's a lot of issues. Okay, so the first issue is transparent. Okay, actually rules and regulations and procedures on public procurement itself is transparent enough. Okay. Um, uh, Rules, regulations is actually already stipulated in the Financial Procedure Acts, the Treasury Instructions, various circulars, clear and cut, transparent. Okay. However, when this involve the interference from the politician, the members of parliament, who are very influential compared to the management, the committee of the public procurement itself. So this process is interrupted. Okay. Example. Okay. Let's say UiTM want to build a hostel, so tender all those standard those bidder who wish to bid, so they already fulfill all the rules and regulation according to the various acts, various instructions. But however, there's one suppliers who are not fulfilling on those rules and regulation, but because of he has influences with politicians, or he have influences with the IDON at that particular area, so that IDON contacted UiTM, you need to give this tender to this supplier. Okay. So there's inside hands involved. Okay. So that's why there's an issue on transparencies and public procurement. Then procurement and procedures and their implementation. uh, um, as I mentioned, this involve when the purchasing involve buying a tender documents. Sometimes the tender documents is so difficult to understand. Okay. And then there are various forms they need to fill in. So this actually involve a bureaucracy procedures, and in order to get the bidder, the successful bidder, it involve a lot of procedures and steps. Let's say we want to use the service on March, we actually need to open the tender on June this year. Okay. There's quite a long time duration in order to choose a successful bidder. Okay. Which is a very troublesome. And then the personnel involved in the procurement system. Okay. Currently, there are tender committee who will approve the tender for that supplies of product and services, but there is no monitoring system, a good monitoring system. Okay, who is independent rather than for these government agencies. For example, if let's say the government agencies want to build project perumahan rakyat. Okay. They approve this kind of suppliers in order contractors in order to build that house, but in order to monitor the stage of the house development, there is no independent body monitoring the progress of the work. Okay. And then if let's say they involve that particular personnel in the agencies involved in breaching of trust, or he is actually the one, is orang dalam who just expose what kind of criteria needed to choose for that bidder. There's no specific punishment for this kind of officers. Okay. So and then the system of the e-procurement is still have some weaknesses, whereby not all officers familiar and competent in order to use the e-procurement. And then the estimation and budget pricing. Okay. The technical committees, in the financial committees, in the procurement committees itself, they are not clear on the exact price and the fluctuations of price of the raw materials. For example, in the case of UiTM just now, they want to build hostel. They do not know on the exact price of the cements, the stones, the raw materials. Okay, so they do not know, and then sometimes the price fluctuates, increase or decrease. They are not aware on that. So when they prepare the estimation of price, that estimation of price is not accurate. Okay, because they don't have expertise, they don't keep prone to the changes of the price raw materials. So when they prepare the budget, so it could be different from the original one. And then this estimate should remain confidential. Example, they actually they open up the tender on, let's say, a minimum price is 500,000, but the maximum is 700,000. But actually, they have the estimation that what kind of price they are actually looking for, and this estimation is confidential. So this is where the issues arises, whereby there is hidden person, orang dalam who expose this estimation towards the contractors or suppliers they have preference to, and they will get some commission for that. Okay, they will have coffee money for that. So, and this actually one of the issues on the public procurement. So that's why there are some contractors who are not capable in completing on the projects, but they can win for that project. Okay, because they know what kind of estimation that these agencies need. Okay, even they don't have when evaluation when the public procurement committees doing the evaluation, they have less capabilities, they are not competent, but they can bid for the price, so they won for that tender. Okay, so this is one of the issues. And then issues on professionalism. Sometimes the information leak, and then contractors, they false claim. Okay, for example, that they actually completed, let's say, in order to build a house, so they completed the first phase, so they negotiate with the procurement committee, so they want to claim until the third phase. Okay, they will claim phase by phase, so they want to claim until the third phase, so they can claim more. So this is they will they will have like some sort like collaboration, illegal collaboration with those personnel of public procurement, and then they claim more than what should they expected. So this is a false or inaccurate claims. Okay, so that is issues in public procurement. So when we talk about public procurement does not involve only purchasing. Okay, but they also involve asset management. Okay, if you can see in UiTM, for example, whatever asset that UiTM have, like computers, printers, furnitures, UiTM have like some sort like code there, hak milik UiTM, UiTM/2013/5. Okay, so that is a kind of asset management, because every assets that the government agency purchase, they need to know, they need to manage. Okay, because they need to know on the maintenance. Okay, let's say they buy aircon, they buy computers, they need to have maintenance. Okay, and they also need to know on the disposal. Okay, so every assets that an agency have, they need to dispose. They have their own birth certificates. Okay, example, computers, they buy it in 2020. So the disposal time, the depreciation time is 10 years. So they will dispose that in 2030. So by the time of 2030, they need to dispose the assets. Okay, so that we call as assets disposal. So what kind of disposal that the government agencies can do? The first one is outright sale. Okay, auction, whereby they sell computers, aircon, furnitures which still can be used, still in good condition, but it already kita panggil tarikh mati dia. Okay, dia sudah sampai tarikh mati dia, so we need to dispose. So one of the way to dispose is we can lelong to any other agencies or the public. The second one is we go for scrapping. Okay, we need to, if let's say we want to scrap computers, we need to submit all the computers to a licensed dealer. The third one is we can recycle. Just find any recycle agencies and submit that to the recycle agencies. Trade in. If let's say we want to buy a new computer, we can trade in the old computer to the supplier. We can donate to any NGOs or registered charities, and then we can transfer to the other agencies. Let's say UiTM. UiTM want to transfer to UiTM Seremban want to transfer to UiTM Kuala Pilah. So UiTM Kuala Pilah, they have less computers, so they can get it. So they will give that computers to other agencies. Or the last one is destroy. Okay, they just destroy that. Okay, so that is all on public procurement. So if you have any question, then you may ask me on during the tutorial class. Okay, thanks.